Okay, so I think we can start now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session. My name is Saravana, and I'm excited to be here today with you all to discuss about SDLC and all about its features. So, I'm a student of St. Joseph Institute of Technology, Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, and an aspiring junior developer. During this session, we'll cover about SDLC and all about its phases. So, all different with its different models and everything. So, and I encourage you to ask about questions or share your thoughts at any point and let me know in the chat box and I'll be sure to respond to you all. Yeah. So now let's dive into our first topic. Okay. So what is SDLC? So what's the deal with SDLC? First of all, we need to understand that SDLC is like a structure, like a structured model. So it's abbreviated as software development life cycle. So here you can see you can give the contents a go. So this is what we're going to see right now today. So we're going to see about the phases, the different types of models and different frameworks of SDLC. So yeah, and we're going to end it off with DevOps. So you're going to see how it links to DevOps. So yeah, let's start. What is SDLC? SDLC is a systematic process used to design, develop, test, and deploy software. So let's say SDLC is like a structure that we need to follow. We are all like college, so we need to follow a college regulations. It's like a set of rules, or like how they establish those rules. So let's say the we as students are responding to a college's rules and regulations. So that's how it is. So it provides a structured framework to ensure the quality, efficiency, and effectiveness of software development. So it ensures the efficiency of the software development, how good it is, how good of a project or anything we're building. So it's like a structured form. So let's say I'm building a project, or I need to follow these rules and regulations set by a group of people, set by the life cycle. There are like various phases that we're going to see right now. So let's see. I would like to start off with an example. So let's say this is Jackie. So he's an aspiring entrepreneur. Now, what he owns is a retail business. So he owns like he sells shirts, he sells pants or any boots or anything. So it comes from shirts to shoes. So he wants to build an app. So he wants to get an app so that he can get customers online. So they can check out a store online, like on the go, on the phone, like for example, let's say Amazon or anything else like that. So he wants to build an app. So what he does is he obviously doesn't know any app, SDLC or code development. He's just a retail owner. Okay. So what he does is since he doesn't know about anything, he just thinks programming, like just programming is what what's going to take to build an app. So this programming. So he just approaches his developer friend who is Peter. So he's the help. So what Jackie does is he just goes to Peter, and since he was a software developer, he's like, I need an app. So I need an app development. So can you just build it for me? So he thinks like it's a walk in the park. So but since Peter is a software developer, he knows all about this SDLC and phases and stuff. He's like he understands Jackie, but like he tells him not just programming is not app development. Programming, just we can't handle any project or anything with just programming. So we need a structured form, we need to plan our project, we need to understand why we are building it. So those are the things that comes under the SDLC form. So let's see, he tells him, oh brother, that's waterfall CI/CD method. So let's see one by one. Okay, so these are the phases. We have planning phase. It's basically a pitch, like a discussion pitch of how we're going to start off our projects, like a topic or something. So they're just gonna divide it as sections. And secondly, phase, those comes under the requirement phase. So the third one is designing phase. So obviously, who doesn't like some good UI and UX? So designing phase is all about designing, like building our creations. So and the implementation phase. Implementation phase is so see. So Fourth one is the implementation phase. That phase, only that phase, we start to build our code. So we start to build from scratch. We take the requirements, we take the project ideas from the previous three phases and implement our code in the implementation phase. So in 5 and 6, a testing and deployment phase, I think we'll see when it comes. We'll on the next slide in the presentation. So yeah, see, this is an image of an SDLC model. So I would like to note that thing is the SDLC model or structure, it differs from project to project, differs from how we are handling a project, from where we're gonna go with the project. Like for example, let's say I'm building a weather app project. So when I'm building a weather app project, I need to know the whys. So I need to know the why I'm building it, why did I do it for the end customers to enjoy, what benefit it's going to have on the end customer. So that's what it's all about. It's a software development life cycle. So it starts off with planning, obviously, what we've seen on the previous slide, and analysis, design, implementation, testing and integration, and maintenance. There's a reason I did not include maintenance in the previous slide. As you can see in the previous slide, I'll tell it in the next slide. So the first phase is planning phase. So what's planning phase? It defines the project scope, the goals, and the feasibility, how our project is aligned with the customer's needs. So what it does is we need to ask the questions, why do they need it? Like, I'm going to build an app. Jackie is building an app. Jackie, he needs an app to be built by his software development friend. Who's that? Yeah. So um, what he Peter. So Peter is developing an app, but the thing is, he needs to know why he is building that app. Why am I building that app? Just because Jackie told me so? No, because he wants to find out the customer's requirements, like why am I building this app, and all the end user requirements. So those comes under the planning phase. Okay. So, and the key elements, for example, we are implementing the UI and UX stage, right? So overall, the this is like a discussion pitch. It's between the stakeholders and like end user customers. Like, so they pitch in a meeting, they discuss and stuff, because to provide like a insight on how this app is gonna get forwarded. So requirement analysis phase. So this phase is gather the documents and the software requirements. So what we do in this phase is like interact with the stakeholders more to find out why do they want this project to be up and hold it. So activities, it interacts with the stakeholders to understand their needs. So define functional and non-functional requirements, like what we need in this app to be functional or non-functional in any project, like a dormant thing, or what we need to be active. For example, a navigation bar, it needs to be active like 24/7 for customers to search and look into stuff. So in this phase, we create an SRS document, as I mentioned right here, an SRS document. That is just a minute. Okay, so okay. The SRS document, it abbreviates to Software Requirement Specification Document. As the name suggested, yes, it's a software specification requirement. All the documents, all the requirements of this software is documented under the SRS document. And let's move on to design phase. I love this phase. So let's see. It architect different types of dresses which are present, different types of shoes that are present. So that needs to be in that area. So it is defined by the UI UX of this app. Okay. So next stage, the implementation phase, which Jackie thought is the only phase, but oh boy, it's not. Okay. So objective, developing the software. It sounds fairly simple, but this is the hardest phase. But actually, the next phase, the last three phases are kind of interlinked to each other. So it's implementation phase, and we'll check out the next phase as it comes in the PPT. So write code and optimize the code according to the design. So the biggest issue of every single web developer or app developer programmer is that they can't do everything that's stated in the UI UX. So, for example, we can use a tool as Figma or Adobe. So we can create amazing web pages or amazing app like formats or the UI UXs. But the thing is, coding is very hard. So implement that Figma, what we have drawn up in the Figma into a code is very hard. So many developers struggle with it. So the interaction between the UI, UX, the DDS document, and the coders, the developers, obviously, they need to be interlinked too. So they need to pitch a meeting together to do the cans and the cannots. So what they do is they use development tools like compiler or debugger to implement all the codes in this coding or implementation phase. Okay, so next phase, the testing phase. Okay, yeah, identify in this phase, we identify and fix defects to ensure the quality of what we are building. So in this phase, the obviously when we are building a program, we are creating an app or anything, the thing is it's going to have some a lot of errors, not some, a lot of errors. So we need to debug it, we need to test it, we need to test on the testing grounds. For example, let's say in the retailing example, we need to test it on the customer's face. So in the end user customers, so how they're going to use it, what they're going to use it. So identifying and fixing the defects to ensure the quality of what we are building, as I said. So in this phase, we delve deep into units and integrations and all the acceptance, like how the coding is valid, or how the coding is like strong built. So yeah. So as I said, since I remember, I said like the fourth, fifth, and the sixth phases are all interconnected. This is what I mean. The coding phase sends to the testing phase. The coding phase is built, the program is built, everything is built, the compiler, debug, everything is built. But it's we send that code through this phase, this testing phase. So when we send that code to the testing phase is like, as I said, it's a testing ground. So they test the code for debugs and everything, the error, the code, everything. So they test the phase, and if there are any errors, they send it back to the coding phase for debugging. For error debugging, we for any error, they develop the software, they fix those errors and move on to the next phase, that is boom, deployment phase. Okay, so I misclicked that. So, okay, release the software to the users. This is the last phase where it's when I write. So, the deployment phase, we as the end user product, we deploy that model. We deploy all the after debugging and everything, we deploy that model to the end user customers. And this is the phase, like, it will be ready for deployment and the consumers. The development team will set up installation links for the users. It's not just we have a project, we need to set up how the users are going to download that app from the Play Store or anything, like, for example, Microsoft or anything, how the users are going to use it, so the feasibility or efficiency, let's say. So, and then debugging of the app is done on a regular basis on the maintenance phase. So this is the phase I didn't add because, you see, to ensuring the software remains functional and relevant. So in this maintenance phase, what we're going to do is it's gonna receive a lot of updates. Let's say the project receives a lot of updates, fixing bugs reported by the users, updating the system with new features, like a new and exciting stuff. So yeah. So with that, we're gonna adapt to the ever changing world of software development. And as at the end, I would like to make a little sign out because as I said from the start, every single project, what we're going to build is directly depends upon how many phases are we going to choose. So let's take a recap, shall we? The planning phase, from the planning phase to the requirements analysis, which we pitch the meeting for all the requirements and store those requirements of the stakeholders to this SRS document, which is software document. and we're gonna send it to designing for making the DDS document, SRS to DDS, to document all the UI UX specifications, and to the next stage of implementation, which is obviously the coding phase, and to the testing phase, where we test for the code for error or any bugs, for to send it back to the implementation phase to fix them, and the deployment phase finally. In this phase is where we deploy the model, deploy the project for end users, customers to use, and to the maintenance phase. To the maintenance In the maintenance phase, if they face any error, or if they the end user customer faces any like issues, anything, we send it back to the testing phase and implementation phase, and yada yada yada. So it just goes on with it. So let's have again a recap of the model this time. So the analysis of the product owner, the project manager, business analysis, the customers, like the clients, let's say. So they go to the designing phase and deployment phase. In these phases, this is a model of another the app or another project. So the SDLC structure is all mixed up. So they what they're doing analysis first, and the design second, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance phase. We do not have a planning phase because, as I said, it differs between each and every single product. So yeah. Okay, so before moving on to models, I would like to have a question session. So, or if any doubts you have, would you like press in the chat box? Any doubts? All clear? Could you like give me a thumbs up, everybody? Okay, thank you for all the likes. Okay, so okay, I think I would like to ask people a few questions. So let's see. Or if you want to answer, like, could you like raise the hands or something? Okay, so yeah. Rishni Dharan, are you in the meeting? Okay, I guess he's not. So, okay, Joshua, are you in the meeting?
Yes, I'm in a meeting.
Yeah. Could you explain about the testing phase? Why we need a testing phase?
So we need the testing phase, to see whether if a product or our software is working properly before sending out to the end user or the customer. So basically, that's why we need a testing phase to test out the product before sending it out.
Okay, so that's a very good answer. Just do a thumbs up for Joshua this time, guys. Okay. So that was very good, Joshua. Thank you for answering. So next is it's Tasha. Are you in the meeting? Okay, I guess not. So I think people are leaving because I'm asking questions. Okay, so I think we'll start. Just one last question. Pranav, are you there?
Yeah.
Could you describe the link between implementation, testing, and maintenance phase?
So implementation, testing, and maintenance, right?
Yeah.
So in implementation, I think the implementation is the most important part in the SDLC model because
Yes,
that's
you
the
are
part
right.
where we write the code for our project. So once we are done with the code, we move on to testing. In testing, we perform different kind of testing like unit testing, integration testing. Then once we are done with the testing, we move on to the maintenance. What we do in the maintenance is like once the deployment is done, if like I'm the customer and you're the developer, so if I face any
Yeah.
bugs, I just report bugs or errors. I report to the maintenance. So from the maintenance team, they help me out to sort out the issues, kind of like that.
Yeah, that was a very good answer. So you are absolutely right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering. Thumbs up for Pranav right now, guys. Okay. Joshua Moses is very active. Yeah. Okay, so I think we'll move on to the next. If you have any doubts or no, please let me know in the comment box. Anybody? No? Okay, so I think we're good to go. Okay, so as we completed the models of 6 phases of the software development life cycle, but what we have is we are not done yet. Let's say that. So there are like different models. For example, the phases are like let's say phases are structures and what are rules or regulations that different phases. We live a life. We overcome. As an example, I would like to say any life of a human being, they go through the phase of a kid phase, a baby phase or anything, and then a teenager phase where they're moody and stuff, and then the third phase, like when they mature into an adult stage. So in that stage, they have overcome a lot of difficulties, and they get better. So that's how phases work exactly. So that's phases. And models is like how we approach the problem. Are a brain, let's say a brain thinking. We need to approach those phases. Brain thinking. um, we need to approach those phases in a way that is good for us, that is like that is feasible for us, that helps us in building our project further, developing anything further. So okay, this is like just a small 2-line explanation. I would like to say the waterfall model, sequential and a linear approach thing. So sequential and linear approach is like like a waterfall. I think we're gonna see it when the diagram comes. So I have a diagram in the next PPT. So waterfall model is what happens when it's a hill and it's gonna like, go down like that. That waterfall model is like a step-by-step process. And the next step it's gonna happen when the previous step is finished. That's all. That's It's not gonna go to the previous step again. So it's like a step-by-step process. And the agile model is like a short and sweet. Is, let's say, and the iterative model is like iterates through like a repeated cycles, like in waterfall model it goes from start to end, like that's it. In iterative model it goes to it subdivides itself into like many phases if it's needed, and it iterates through them to debug or anything, to change the pitch. For example, let's say in the planning phase, and the planning, requirement analysis and design, it iterates through three of them to change any documents or software. So yeah. And the V model is I think we're going to see when the PPT comes. I want to save it for that. And the spiral model is it combines the iterative development with risk assessment. Since we know what is iterative development, like spinning around circles, obviously, and it just spins around like till we at the end of the model, till we have a project. It just iterates around like different phases. So, and the spiral model combines the iterative model with the risk assessment, how we approach the problem, the risk assessment, how many risks are there, like risks involved in that. So let's see. Wait, there's models. Okay, waterfall model. As I said, waterfall model is a traditional software development methodology that follows a linear and sequential approach. So before proceeding with anything further, I would like to quote that. Did you know the SDLC dated back to the 1960s? Just a fun fact. So when they were creating something, they weren't programming. Obviously, there wasn't any computer. Maybe there was, but not like computing or programming side of things. So not in that high level of technology. So in the 1960s, they devised a program, like they devised different types of phases, like a waterfall method, like structured framework. So in 1960s, they devised it. So I thought that was a cool fun fact. So yeah, let's move on with PPT. So in the waterfall, it's named waterfall because progress flows steadily downward through several distinct phases, like a waterfall. Just like I said, like a waterfall, like a water climbing downhill. Yeah, when the water just goes downhill, it doesn't come back. Just boom. That's all. And this model is widely used for projects with clearly defined requirements and deliverables. Actually, this model has a lot of disadvantages since it's founded from 1960s, as I said. So it's like let's say I'm pretty sure like you all have like been familiar with the OOPS concept. So this is the structure and structured programming, and the OOPS are like in a better way of encapsulation and stuff. So this is like water model is like a structured program, a structured phase, framework. Okay. Now these are the advantages and disadvantages of the waterfall method. As you can see, it just goes down like an arrow, like a down, down, down. Requirements from to the down analysis and then down design, and then the next stages follow as well. So at the end, the implementation follows this. So advantages: simplicity, very easy. Structured approach, obviously, as you can see from waterfall. Documentation, detailed records. Everything involves with documentation and water models. So in water models, we document everything again and again and again before moving on to the coding step phase. So that's what makes it very not feasible and very not efficient in these times when we need to update it regularly. Waterfall model doesn't cut it, but it may cut for the some other projects for specific products, but I'm not sure. I think we have an example in the next slide, but we'll see. Okay, so the clear deliverables, so a clear set date, clear, they set everything clear, like a structured way, how it's gonna end another time, and a predictable timeline because it's a waterfall method, a structured way. Okay, and then disadvantages. Obviously, when I said inflexibility, we can't, we're not feasible, it's not efficient. Late testing, like may be late because the structured form, the structured documents may not suit for the coding phase. So, they would have made like a document where this should be here and the function should be like a complex thing. The coding development team may not have the enough resources to do that. Not ideal for complex projects or regular projects, as I said. So what have we as an answer to that? What have we as an answer to that? As in next stage, next phase to that? The agile model, most used and most popular model because this model and most popular model because this model is okay. I think I'm going to say it for the end session. So okay, agile model is the most popular model because it's very dynamic. It's like a programming. Okay, the agile model because it's very dynamic. It's like a programming. Okay, the agile model is the agile model is like a main approaches nowadays because it iterates and evolves itself. The phases are like interconnected with everything. I'm going to show you the diagram in the next phase. So it's interconnected like a I'm not quite sure what shape it is, but it's like a Ferris wheel. So I'm going to show you the is a Ferris wheel. It's like kind of a Ferris wheel. So it starts from requirements and then goes design, the testing, deployment, and then goes design, the testing, deployment, and it interlocks back to requirements because we are in the divide and conquer and like in a repeated iterative phase. It iterates back to anything. For example, if there's a issue in the deployment in the like first stage, in the deployment stage, so we have a error, we can't deploy this thing, so it goes back to the design testing, or in what phase the error has came. So it goes back to that phase and resolves that error. It resolves the document so that the testing or development team can produce a better stuff. So the end is review team because they review the testing phase. They test it and review the end user customers. End user customers review it and post their reviews, and we can debug, or like we can make it error free. Okay, so advantages, obviously flexibility. As I said, it's very flexible, it's very efficient how we can do it, and customer centric. mainly it's not about document centric, it's not about structured way. We do not care about structures in this model. They don't care about any models, they don't care about any structured documents. And they have fast delivery system, reduced risk and improved quality. But since there's a list of like a 5 disadvantages, but the main disadvantages is that in the waterfall method, comparing these two, just note, like hear me out, comparing these two and provides a clear end date, clear how much resources are it's going to take, how much money. But the customers involved, yes, because we are doing testing at every single corner. So yeah, after every single phase, or like if we want to do that testing and after a phase, we do that. We there's no model to suggest that there's not a model of V, or that's not a model of let's say waterfall to not to suggest it not to cause like a risk assessment, because this model is all about avoiding like conflicting issues. Early prototyping, as you can see in the identifying resolve risks, we have prototype and then we're doing a discuss analysis before that, moving on further. And better control. A disadvantage is the cost, because we're doing like a lot of like reviews, like a lot of testing stuff. So that's like a very that's not that's a very bad issue, because we need the cost to be ideal, which is why we have the ideal agile model. So yeah, not ideal for smaller projects. So because it's a very complex thing, because every single like after every single document we are providing with a risk assessment test. So what 1 second, just a minute. Okay, so the since every single after every single phase we're gonna risk for a test assess, so that's gonna cost us a lot, and it's very complex. Because if it's, let's say we're building a simple app and we're creating a navigation bar, that and we're gonna assess assess the risk assessment for after creating just that one component, then why just go on with it. Like that doesn't need a test requirement. So that's why we need it's very complex, and it's suitable for complex projects. So we're in documents. Okay, and that's the end for the models for the that's the end for the SDLC models. So just a minute, I think this. Okay, so alrighty, for the next newest model, well, kind of, because DevOps isn't actually a model, but it's derived from agile models. If you can compare both things, you can see, like I'm having the last slide, I guess. Okay, so how DevOps, how did DevOps move from Agile? DevOps is, as we all know, is a set of practices that aim and enhance collaboration between the development team and the IT operation team, like information technology, like how they build softwares. And here the coders and how they build softwares. They collaborate together to improve the development lifecycle and increase releases. Why we are doing it? So that's a very key important aspect of DevOps, CI and CD, continuous delivery and continuous